Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be moving on to our final panel discussion for the day. And this is, of course, entitled Smart Cities Means Smart Security. I'd like to welcome on stage our moderator. Please welcome Claude Fachkha, the Senior Security Consultant, University of Dubai. Hello and welcome, Claude. He's going to be joined by the following panelists. Please welcome Ahmad Mohamed Darwish Al-Emadi, Chief Information Security Officer, Dubai Municipality. Elizabeth Freitas, Freitas, Regional Manager at Darktrace. Noora Al-Ahbabi, Chief Information Security Officer, Ministry of Economy. Marwan Al-Zarouni, Director of Information Services, Dubai Electronic Security Centre. And Mohamed Mustafa, Founder and Chief Operating Officer, Emirates Safer Internet Society. Hello and welcome to you all. We encourage you all, if you've got questions, please write them down during this conversation. And we're going to be having a 35-minute chat on stage, and then we're coming over to you. Claude, over to you.
Thank you so much for this introduction. I'm so glad to be here, surrounded by pioneers in industry, law enforcement, government, academic experts as well. Before just start our panel discussion, which is going to be straightforward. We'll try to make it as soon as possible. We know that there's the networking lunch right after the event. So let's dive in. Before we dive in, maybe I give a little bit about me. I'm an instructor and consultant at University of Dubai, and also a director of operation for cyber security company, STEPA, that provides cybersecurity intelligence in real time. So the previous speaker, Mr. Aoun, was showing a great presentation on the short and the exponential growth in connectivity between items, devices, like Internet of Things. We hear a lot about smart devices, smart roads, smart building, smart TVs, smart watches. So this exponential growth of connectivity is dramatically increasing. So to dig in the first question, 70% of people will be living in such interconnected environment, such as IoT-enabled and smart devices-enabled cities. So the question is, as expert in the field, what are the trends on digitalization and how organizations are staying up to date to deal with this trend and this evolution? Maybe to start with, maybe we can start with Noora.
As you know, the current computer security landscape is a rapidly evolving domain. So knowing the latest security trend, and being aware of changing threats information, and being always up to date has become more difficult and time costing.
Maybe Mohamed, if you have any thoughts on that.
Okay. So basically, we are into a child protection organization in UAE, child online protection. So we've seen in my lifespan of 10 years plus as a cybersecurity evangelist, I've seen a very key point that no matter what kind of technology you place, no matter what type of policy you make, it's all about education and awareness. So if the individual, now it's not anymore the white collars or professionals using technology. Moreover, now even laborers are using technologies, and everyone soon will be connected. We are talking about next billion people to connect. So everyone have that particular powerful gadgets in their pockets, which is a powerful tool. Probably I might not be harming myself, but using my technology, my device, someone else will be harming someone else. So it's very important to have education and awareness. I'll just narrate a story very recently happened. I'm from Kerala. Recent flood, disaster in Kerala. One of my friend had an incident. So he was on a travel, I think some of the South African country. Somebody hacked into his Gmail account. And from his Gmail, they sent a request to thousands of his friends. He's a millionaire in UAE. So they sent from this email to all his friends saying that I get stuck in Kerala, I lost my mobile phone, I lost my passport, I lost my wallet, I have no access to any of this. Only way now I can come back to UAE is you have to send a $1,000 to my Western Union account. Many people, without even calling, without even confirming that, send the money. You know this scam. So this scam is there forever. So he called me as soon as he come back, because I used to do awareness session. During the session, we used to say, activate your two-factor authentication. So many of our people doesn't do that, even though the situation is so worst. So it's a small awareness and understanding that if you activated that particular authentication, this could have not happened. So that's a small story, and it happened to the very recent situation. So we want to give maximum awareness. Apart from the technology, apart from the policy, the awareness is the key thing, key initiative we should be taking care about it. That's my point.
I think this is great to discuss a little bit about the academia. And many people have already discussed the importance of education and how also important to stay up to date in terms of awareness. To give you just an example, when we teach, for example, some material, the books of cybersecurity in 2016, which is relatively recent, does not include IoT technology and so. So you have also to stay up to date in academia and awareness program. So let's move on to the second question on digital safety, how to surf the internet in a secure manner. We know now many people are using the internet, from kids, maybe teenagers, adults, elderly, women, men, everyone. So how can we be protected online? Maybe I'll ask Dr. Marwan from Desk to provide some insights on how Desk help in this field.
Okay. Thank you all for attending, and thank you for this opportunity. As Dubai Electronic Security Center, we focus again on awareness, and we create programs for school students. We focused this year, for example, on a program called Cybersecurity Leaders, and it's targeting it's actually targeted, it's already finished in the summer, just before the school commencing again. We started this program for 13 to 16-year-olds, because we think these are the leaders of the future. So we decided to partner with one of the international organizations to bring this awareness/mentoring program. We actually depend on this category of students to actually spread awareness, not only to younger people, but also to their parents and other friends who are much older than them, or other brothers that might not be that technology aware. So we focused on this cyber leadership program in educating them with the latest knowledge, as our fellow panelists explained, that we need to actually disseminate this information because the landscape is changing the whole time. So we need to give the right people the right information, and for them to actually to get it to their respective audiences and that kind of stuff. And this is one of the ways that we can do this. Another way could be through social media, through video, and in this region it's very different than other regions in the world. For example, when we hear about something like podcasts and things like that, those channels are more suited for the Western world, but the consumers here in this region are more video oriented. So we always do video first rather than audio first. for these audiences, and it seems to work better. We actually partnered with Dubai Police to do a campaign for cyberbullying and cyber blackmail and cyber soliciting. And we explained in a very short video with around 15 to 20 seconds, so those flash videos, and also we did longer videos around 2 minutes or so in Arabic to reach the general public. And we had a very good response, especially that it was coming from a Dubai police channel, not even Dubai Electronic Security channel, but it was showing a message that is very easily consumable, and it actually leverages common sense. So whenever, like you said, common sense would be actually if you get an email from your friend saying that he needs money, common sense says, don't send the money, do one more step, which is check with that friend if he actually needs the money, if he's actually well, maybe he needs something else, and things like that. So a common courtesy of calling him would be the best solution rather than hurrying up and doing this sending money. It is like we as humans use common sense even for price shopping, something very simple like, for example, before buying something on Amazon, we'll check the prices across, everywhere, whether it's locally or online. We should use the same common sense when we deal with emails, It's leveraging something we already have, an instinct we already have, to actually use it for defending ourselves and defending our community, basically.
Maybe, Mohamed, if you would like to add a little bit, I know you're...
The same thing. I mean, it's an entire awareness. It's not the child, it's not the parents. It's everyone is a stakeholder today. So we were with a couple of labor camps giving awareness to the laborers, the blue collar laborers basically. So much, as I mentioned, so much cyber stalking and cyber blackmailing happening in that place. They don't know, many calls comes and they start talking, they start going in a video, inappropriate video calls, and end of the day, they are sending back your video on your mobile phone and asking for $100 or $200. So that's a key thing as well. They don't ask big money, they ask a small money, but from a various, bunch of people. So awareness. That's my keyword.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things, sorry to interrupt, I just want to put this out there actually for the audience as well. One of the initiatives we did with the Dubai Police as well is called ecrime.com, or .ae, sorry, ecrime.ae, which is a website where anybody, even, for example, the laborers can actually report online any crime that they actually face, even petty crime like with 100 dirhams or less, especially with SMS and that kind of stuff. These crimes are widespread, and somebody who is a laborer who doesn't have time actually to go to report a crime in the police station can report the crime through his mobile or online through a web site, or even call to report the crime. So, and we have hotlines and everything, so to make it easier for somebody to report these kind of crimes.
It's always good to have this platform to secure against cyber bullies or against social engineering attacks online and protect the internet. So let's move to the third question, which is more on the physical versus the cyber security. So of course it's very important to have security in place and physical security in place, like CCTV cameras, security guards, access control. And now with smart cities we need, and again with all this interconnectivity, we need the cyber to provide services and management to the systems. So what are the latest trends in cybersecurity and how well data is protected? Maybe we'll keep this question for Elizabeth.
Sure. So, some of the key trends that we're seeing in the cybersecurity world are the types of attacks. We're seeing AI, machine learning based attacks where they're trying to blend into the network and hide. We're seeing very fast-paced attacks that spread very quickly. We're also seeing more attacks where people are trying to change data, not just trying to take data, they're trying to manipulate it. Probably the biggest trend that we've seen, which is very relevant to today, is the attacks on IoT devices. So they're sort of seen as a soft point as the organization. They might not necessarily have the traditional security on there. The security teams might not necessarily be looking at them. We've had so many different examples that we've picked up. Some of the fun ones I was just talking to the team about were fish tanks, coffee machines, sensors on food processing plants. The fish tank was one that we talk about quite a bit because it newly been installed in the network of the organization we are working with. The IT team had no idea that it was even on the network. But they were using sort of AI and machine learning to monitor their network, which we were doing for them. And they just picked up that a device on the network was doing something slightly unusual. What actually turned out was that an attacker was taking the high roller database and exfiltrating it out of the business. So quite relevant today. I mean, organizations really to detect that can use AI and machine learning to just look for unusual activities.
I think this is also great to identify 0 days, APTs, all unknown attacks through the network.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Ahmad also as an expert from the government perspective, how would you protect data and what, in your opinion, what are the trends in cybersecurity today?
Well, we're moving toward the 4th industrial revolution. In the past revolutions, we had muscles being replaced by machines, and now it's the intelligence of the human beings which is being sent to the machines as well. So we're shifting towards a more digitized and connected revolution in the industry. Now, to get to that point, you're going to need a lot of data, and not just any data. You need rich data. And especially for governments, for their services and the interconnectivity between governments to provide smart services, you're going to need data from a lot of sources, and specifically from IoT. So the major challenge here is that, unlike before, now the security team has to be really connected vertically and horizontally within the organization. What I mean is, horizontally, you need to be connected with business departments to know exactly their use cases and what kind of IoT they are purchasing, and to be able to assist them to fit within the regulations which come from the government. And the same way vertically, to make sure that the management roadmap is clear to the security team as well, for the budgeting, for the tools, for the people and the technology. So we are at a phase right now where protecting data is very crucial. It doesn't come only through technology. It's through the people, it's through the process, it's through the technology itself. And moreover, we have to look at the confidentiality of the data, the integrity and the availability. For example, from the availability perspective, we have to ensure that business continuity is there, the data centers are there, the redundancy within the data centers, and the disaster recoveries are in place. So protecting data is really crucial, and there is no right or wrong answer. It comes down to the strength and weaknesses of the entity itself within the security team, whether it's the people, the resource, or whether it's the budget, or whether it's the technology that is lacking. So protecting data is the ultimate goal at the end of the day, because as you've heard a lot today, data is the new oil. AI is the new electricity, which is going to run on top of this oil to run everything. And in the future, most businesses are going to be working in the perspective or mainly around data. So you have data. From data, you have better driven artificial intelligence application, which is going to give you more users. From more users, you're going to generate more revenue. And from more revenue, you're going to have better data scientists, which is again going to come back and give you more data. So everything comes back around data and protecting it. And that's how it looks like. And the challenge today is protecting data from technology perspective. We're at a tipping point between traditional tools and, as you mentioned, artificial intelligence and machine learning. With traditional tools, which are rule-based, it looks for what it already knows. So we are at a point where you have to see within your budget, within your people, within your expertise, whether the traditional tools are good enough within the entity, and whether artificial intelligence can help you in certain areas within the security. And it's an area of, it's a heated area of discussion where we have to look more in depth and understand our own environment to bring the right solutions in place. But definitely it's an importance.
Indeed, this is always great to have this program that has these all security components include. So this maybe open the question for the fourth and last question. Maybe we still have 6 minutes to go through this question before we move to the question and answer. So in order to build this program, the cybersecurity program, you need teams, you need initiatives, you need control. There are a lot of complexity inside this, not straightforward. So what are the best practices to mitigate the risk of attacks? What are the best practices to reduce the threat? So maybe Noora would like to elaborate.
Regarding to the Ministry of Economy implementing the formal security governance program, this ensures that the security strategies are well aligned with the business goal. Plus, set aside time for the data backup to ensure that all data are safeguarded. And as my colleague Mohamed said, the minister provided awareness sessions at the workshop for all employees to make sure they are well trained to the security information.
Thank you so much. Ahmad, would you like to elaborate a bit?
Just a call for action to the government entities here. We need to have a consolidated effort, because today you see, I have basically since in this field for the last tens of years anyway. So I've seen every silos of initiatives. So a couple of initiatives to consolidate this actually happen, but I don't know whether it's how much successful there. But at a national level, federal level, because UAE is a small place where we have fantastic resources, fantastic infrastructure. So it is high time now we need to consolidate these efforts of, not reinventing the wheel. Many times I have really seen when I talk to any organization, they say, hey, we are doing this. The same thing will be repeated doing in another organization. I think they should have a very high level call for consolidating all data protection initiative at a federal level if possible. I'm just doing a call for action for the government entities for that. I think that will bring lots of value and lesson learned and not re-engineering stuffs on this ground. Please take it further.
Ahmad?
Well, the action plan, or what we see the future, or where we're heading in the future, is towards, of course, AI and machine learning. And to prepare for that, to have a successful AI, you need two things. One is rich data, and the other is expertise within the domain that you're trying to implement the AI. So let's take cybersecurity for an instance. So the more data, the more contextual data that we have, the better it's going to be for when the machine learning or the AI field develops. Why this is important is, I'll give you an example. Today, for example, we have a CEO and we have a normal employee, let's say, for example. The CEO enters the password wrong 5 times, and so does this person. From a security operations center perspective, you're pretty much going to get the same alert. Unless you have some sort of business context or a digitized GRC, which is the government risk or compliance, in your entity to feed back and correlate and tell you, okay, because this person is a CEO, has entered it 5 times, is more important at this, or at this specific time, or at this specific situation. So this reduces the burden on the security operations center. This is some of the challenges that we see today. The amount of alerts that you might get without a business context, it's going to be enormous. So what we are doing, or what we are having on our roadmap, is to have everything that's required for the future digitized from today, whether it's the risks, whether it's the governance, whether it's the compliance, whether it's the human factor itself. So when we step into the field of artificial intelligence, which we have been working on the last 6 months in the field of security, we have realized that it really does help, especially if you look at it from an unsupervised unsupervised artificial intelligence. So an example of what it will do is it will baseline everyone within this room over a period of time, let's say 3 months. And over time, in case any of your traditional tools fail to pick up that there is an abnormal activity going on, let's say, for example, on IoT. The problem with IoT is that many, or let's say some manufacturers might not take security as an important factor, that they might send their data unencrypted, or the whole protocol stack that you're using might not be efficient. So hackers could get through the IoT systems, as you mentioned. So what happens here, once everything is baselined in your entity, any deviation, the algorithm can pick up that, okay, this device has never had this kind of communication at this particular given time, and the deviation is, let's say, 50 to 60%. So it raises an alert. So here you don't need rules to give you a problem. You will get to know it through machine learning and through the algorithms which are in place, which really does help at this stage where you can see that traditional tools are not as effective and artificial intelligence is coming to somehow cover this. So the action or the roadmap is to really get to know your entity inside out through GRC and digitizing it so that in the future, maybe not today, that you can feed the data back into the artificial intelligence to give you a much more meaningful alert.
Elizabeth, I know AI is the core element in Darktrace, so would you be able to elaborate a bit?
I mean, that was a great sales pitch. Yeah, the technology that we have does exactly that. It's unsupervised machine learning. We go into any organization, and I think that's key, whether it's a smart city or an office or an oil and gas company. The AI and the machine learning, it doesn't really mind. It learns from scratch what is normal for that specific organization. And then you can take it one step further and actually use the active response capability, which is fantastic for things like ransomware, where they've hit your network, they're spreading really quickly. It can block that within a few seconds. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Dr. Marwan.
I just want to give you on city-wise, because we are in the Smart Cities conference. So city level, there are a lot of initiatives that the city is doing to tackle the cybersecurity risk. One of them, of course, is something called 10X. And the Dubai Electronic Security Center, which is the organization I work for, is the advisor for all the projects that are within the 10X. And my colleague here spoke about the silos. And 10X 2.0, which is running right now, is actually not one single government department. Each government department, when it comes up with an initiative, has to come up with a list of partners from other government departments. So it is cross-government department initiative, and that's the focus. And they have, instead of 1 year to do it, 2 years. So that, and a lot of the projects have a lot of security aspects related to them, and most of them would have a data and AI aspect related to that as well. So that's one initiative. And on the UAE level, we have another initiative, which is the UAE government's meeting. And one of the pillars there is cybersecurity. And within the cybersecurity, actually, one of the projects we had last year was around AI as well. So utilizing AI and cybersecurity on UAE-wide. And that's, I think, shows the vision and shows the initiative that Dubai and the UAE as a whole is giving for both cybersecurity and artificial intelligence.
From a personal experience, we have already worked with Desk at University of Dubai, and we know how much you guys are supporting also institutions in Dubai. So we're done for the questions. We'll leave the floor for Baxter to take questions from the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your opportunity for your voice to share with our expert panelists. If you've got a question, raise your hand. Let us know your name, your company, and your question. Do you get the impression they're hungry, Claude?
Maybe I have a question.
Please.
In terms of collaboration, if entities, I don't know, there are a lot of organizations institution, government entities, how can we collaborate? What's a good way or to collaborate?
Okay, for us, it's a civic society. It's a UAE national NGO, so we are very specifically working for child online protection. That's very, very specific. But we work with personal safety also. That's we can say 10 or 20% of our focus. But 80% of the focus is children online protections. So we believe that is the next generation who have to be well mentored, well trained, and so any entity in UAE is our stakeholders. So we are inviting membership into our NGO so that they can join officially and they can be a part of it. And as an individual, we are opening our online membership form soon, so anybody can be a member and put your contributions and materials. We can bring it at very high level. Our vision is to build a child online protection from UAE to the world. So the whole reason we set up in UAE is we have seen that Asia and Africa is really lacking the capacity of child online protection, particularly child abused materials particularly. So we bring international best practices, which is UN, US, and UNICEF and all those organizations is doing there. We bring that and tweak into the national cultural and religious perspective and try to implement that in UAE and other part of the world. So welcome to join. It's a UAE national NGO anyway. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Summarize.
Sure. So we have discussed a little bit of several topics and several experts in the field of security were discussing their experience, and we've seen people from industry, we've seen people from government, municipality. We have discussed how some topics include the internet surf, how we protect ourselves online. We discussed a little bit about the best practices, also how to mitigate attacks and threats, what are the good ways to secure the internet. So that's it. We would like to thank you all. I hope you found this panel discussion interesting. We would like to enjoy the lunch.
Ladies and gentlemen, many thanks to our moderator, Claude. Thank you. And he was joined by our panelists, Ahmad, Elizabeth, Noora, Marwan, and Mohamed. Extended thanks to you all.